Why struggle through a post-merger integration when you can glide through it? Why deal with the PMI integration challenges when you can overcome them even before they occur? Why move slow when you can move at pace? What are the world's leading PMI experts doing right now to achieve profit-accelerating integrations? This podcast will give you all the answers to these questions and many more. My name is Dudley Peacock, and welcome to the 100 Days and Beyond podcast. So welcome to Office Hours. Every Friday morning, we discuss the world of professional services, the world of private equity, merger and acquisitions in terms of large corporate entities. We also talk a lot about post-merger or post-acquisition integration. Last week, we covered a lot of information around the establishment, the growth, and the development of professional services firms, of which boutique agencies, if you like, or boutique practitioners in the post-merger integration or the post-acquisition integration space in which they fall. But this Q&A, if you like, it covers, I think, the value is it covers any kind of consulting organization, professional services organization, even coaches and mentors and people that deal with selling those intangibles, selling those services that are often difficult to explain in that you try and carve out a niche, if you like, for yourself. You try and say, look, I'm a specialist in a particular field, but it becomes a very, very technical conversation. And if I just give you a quick recap of what we had discussed last week, I used an analogy which one of my clients, myself, we had come up with, which was the circle and the rectangle. The circle being all the technical aspects of what you do. So we use the analogy of a mechanic. That's professional services. Although they provide spares and so on, it's actually a services-based organization. If every time you had to take your car in for a service or your vehicle in for a service, or any kind of repair, what you don't want to know are all the massive technical details. I mean, you might be highly analytical and you'll want to know every piece, but that's highly unlikely. You just want to know that when you take your vehicle in and you drop it off, and when you fetch it at the end of the day or end of the week, or however long the repair takes or the service, when you get it back, you want to know that it works. And that's the rectangle. That's the business process, if you like, or the actual, let's call it the customer journey or the client journey. Most services organizations get this element, I would say, wrong in that they think a lot about technical aspects. So if you take post-merger integrations or post-acquisition integration work, many of the practitioners that I've seen, when they present themselves as a practitioner, either to a potential client or even when they're looking for work and they're presenting their CVs, what I've noticed is everyone sort of tends towards the place where their daily work is. I mean, where you spend most of your time, which is within the technical aspects. What you should be looking at, balancing it with, is there should be an element of, yes, you need to explain what your abilities are and so on, but it needs to be done at such a level that whoever's the audience, whoever's listening to you, is connected in terms of their journey and the way that journey works for them, not for you as let's call it, you are the presenter. So from a professional services or a practitioner or anybody selling the intangible, the invisible, this Q&A and any of these Friday morning Q&A sessions are about those elements of how does a professional service company, a coaching, mentoring, consulting business, how does it differentiate? How do you make a difference in the market? How do you go out, get new work? How do you go out and deliver really good services to the clients that you get? And even if you're within a corporate environment, this week I spoke to an individual that has been at his company for almost 20 years. And he's delivering a particular service to the company. Although he's an employee, he is delivering value to that company. And when you start unpacking the day-to-day activities of employees, of technicians, of professional services people, you'll get to see how clearly these two elements start to become visible: the circle and the rectangle. So the Q&A session today, I want to sort of dedicate going sort of a little deeper into what we call systemization, and often we get lots of discussion around systemization, automation, uh, processes, procedures. I mean, if you talk to a business analyst, for instance, I mean, they incredibly tackle an incredibly difficult job, which is to try and understand the component pieces or the component parts of what make up a business process. But when we apply this to a professional services organization or an entity or even a group of people or a team of professionals, it could be doctors, dentists, lawyers, I mean, you name it, most of them are busy with the technical aspects. I'm part of the Turnaround Management Association, also a great bunch of people, very highly technical. And then when a client comes to them and the client says, okay, what can you do for me? How do you answer that question? And the best way to do that is, I call it selling your process, selling the process or the journey that that client or customer will be going through. So when we look at our office hours and especially around the post-merger integrations and post-acquisition integrations, mergers and acquisitions, and anything to do with the buying and the growing and the developing of businesses, getting businesses ready for exit, doing the exit process, going through the integration, working with culture, systems, even right down to simple things like product market fit, and so on. If you're doing on sales marketing, if you're doing the HR or the finance integrations, I mean, there are multiple components or work streams within an integration, and even within a M&A deal. A merger and acquisition deal is not just buying an entire entity, but it's understanding the component parts and whether you can create value or create the synergies between what you already have or between what you are going to or buying and putting together. The other parts that get more complex are things like carve-outs and separations and so on. But if someone says, okay, I believe you do carve-outs, explain to me how you can help me, because every client, everybody that you pitch to, and everyone's selling to everyone else. So no matter what business you're in, you could be selling to your employer, to your employees, you could be selling to clients, you could be selling ideas and concepts to a target company, employees that are frightened for their jobs, or they are seeing this as an opportunity for growth. When you are doing any kind of communication, you want to be able to explain to them the system or the process or the way in which their journey will go from where we are right now to where we are going to be, or where we foresee ourselves to be. And then in between, there's this chasm, there's this, let's call it a gap. Often it's a known unknown, in the sense that we know what we need to be doing to get there, but do we actually know what that bridge is to get there? So when you're selling the invisible, what my suggestion, what works incredibly well, and what I've seen work well, is to try and separate, first and foremost, separate your circle and your rectangle. So your circle being all the technical things that you can do. So put that all one side. Do that first, because it's front of mind for you as a practitioner, for you as a specialist in your area. Put that one side. Jot down all the things that you can do, your history, your templates, your tools, your knowledge, your network. Put all of that in that circle, and put that one side, and then say, okay, that is out the way. I don't need to go and explain that at great detail. But what I need to do is start saying, okay, how do I present my process? What is the customer journey? Because now it's no longer about what I can do in my skills. Now it's about how do I basically promote or explain the the journey that person who's in the audience, that I'm taking on that journey. I would like to explain it in such a way that gives them almost the step by step. And the best way to do that, and people, call it all kinds of things. What you do is that rectangle, which is the process, the journey, the client journey, the customer journey that you follow, or the investor journey, if you're looking for investors, is what are the steps that they would go through during their journey. So you can quite easily, and this is what works incredibly well, is create a framework. Now, a framework could be simply the 5 Fs, or the R4 R4 model, or the R4 pyramid. You can do it in a Venn diagram format. You could do it in a series format. I've got different models which I want to see if I can share with you on next week's episode, where we start looking at what does an actual product look like. So when we say we productize, we say we productize not the technical stuff, but we productize the journey that client takes. So what does that actually mean? So that means that we are able to, in one page, one visual diagram, sit with a potential client or with the team that we're trying to explain to, or even the target, etc., or an investor, and have a diagram of a framework of how we work. And often these frameworks and diagrams have 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, nothing more. You try and keep it as simple as possible, but often it's something to do with beginning, something to do with a few steps in the middle, and then something to do with the outcome. And how do you then maybe potentially repeat that process? There could be a step for learning, for improving, and then you can repeat, and so on. So many of these frameworks, I'm going to share a number of them. The one framework that I use for M&A, post-merger integration work, is what I call my slipstream model. And my slipstream model, or slipstream framework, is it literally uses slipstream as if it's an acronym. SLIP is the first portion, and stream, STREAMS, is the second portion. So the post-merger integration work that I do, I deliver in my slipstream, or using my slipstream model. Now, SLIP, just to give you an idea, S standing for support, L for leadership, I for implementation, and P for preparation. So SLIP. And I even have what I call the slip loop, because for me, all of those happen in a circular fashion. And the slip loop is literally that. It is support, lead, implement, prepare, support, lead, implement, prepare. And then the stream portion are the component parts of the actual journey that the client takes. And I'll share that in next week's episode. But for this week, I just want to run through this particular concept of saying, this week, because this is a Q&A session, and the idea behind these sessions, and just to recap, every single week, this is an open forum, so you are welcome to ask questions. You're welcome to post questions, as well as even come online, or if you want to be a guest on a Friday morning, you're also welcome to do so. And let's discuss and brainstorm and workshop the key components of growing a professional services entity. One of which is the M&A firm, or a firm. Let's say you're a property manager, or you're a property investment firm. You still have to get investors. You have to keep the investors happy. you go for investment rounds, you build up a fund, you go out and you buy a property. The other portion would be to then, once you've got the properties, it would be to, for instance, you would have to have project teams, and you would have to go and do refurbishment and reconditioning and get those properties up to standard. The next part of a process for you, if you're a property investment company, you would probably need to go out and market those properties. In other words, list them and have somebody or a team or a method to bring in tenants if you're renting it out, or if you're selling it on. It depends on what your process is. But let's say you're renting it out, you'd need another team. Once you have new tenants, you would need another team or another process, another step in terms of managing those tenants and collecting payments. And then from the time of collecting payments, those payments would have to come back, and that would be then what we call the return on investment. But there are a number of component steps that need to be taken into account. Now, when an investor asks, what do you do, and tell me about how you work, we need to be able to put together a framework that makes sense. In the post-merger integration or the all the integration work, even the M&A process, I mean, there are clear steps. There's searching. M&A would be searching for an ideal target, would be one potential one. The next one would be to filter out all the targets that don't make sense, to then start negotiation with the short list, if you like, have discussions, filter them out in terms of their interest and the fit, go to when there's a bit of interest and there's a potential fit, then you go through a due diligence process and discussion, negotiation. You talk about price, valuations, etc. And you see how this entity can fit, with whatever the outcome, the goal, the strategic goal is. Those are M&A steps. Once everyone's happy, and then you would need to go out, and if you're doing a leverage buyout, part of your fund, if you're private equity, would go in as a portion payment, for instance, and the rest you'll leverage in terms of debt or other investments, or you'll get co-investors and so on. And then you close the deal. Once you've closed the deal, you then start with the integration process. The integration process, again, has a number of steps. If you want to learn and you want blueprints and models and templates and so on, if you really want to learn about PMI, post-merger integrations, and setting up an integration management office, an IMO, join me every Friday. I'm actually presenting an entire course. It will be a 50-week course, 1 hour per week. We're starting today at 11 a.m. And today I'm going to just do an introduction in terms of the high-level view of the course itself. And then week on week, every week, we will be doing the theory, the practical, and examples around a PMI and setting up an IMO, and what to do to actually do a successful integration. To what are the don'ts, what are the pitfalls, what are the things to look out for. And there's no one integration that's the same as another, although there are many principles that apply across all integrations. Integrations these days are tending, and there's a new wave and a new trend that's coming up, and we also cover that in some of the modules, which are things like carve-outs and other portions, which are where entities are saying, we've just grown too big. In order for us to survive or even thrive as a group of people, because essentially most businesses are made up of people or even communities of people. But if we are to survive and thrive in a changing world, we probably need to split up this company and take each of the component parts of the company and then grow each one individually in their own target markets and so on, and potentially even just keep a high-level head office view, but make sure that we follow a product market fit process. I mean, this is a brand new trend that's not brand new, but it's for the last few months. It started companies are questioning size. Does size really matter? Does size actually give us the competitive advantage that it did in the past. Companies are becoming more agile. Competitors are coming in with better and newer and more applicable products. Products and markets are being niched down to niches and sub-niches and sub-niches and so on. And I think where everything seems to be going is a rethink of how business is done. We have to, as PMI and professionals or practitioners, we as people with this broad-based knowledge, and sometimes broad-based with a particular work stream, primary skill, specialist skill, we have to be thinking about the way the market is changing. Private equity is doing well, and it's going to keep doing well. And why is that? Because money basically follows successful models. Money will keep following the private equity model, and private equity as a business model is going to just get better and better. In the early days, it was private equity could have a very broad base in terms of the kind of investments they do. These days, the focus is becoming narrower and narrower in terms of the acquisitions that they do. Now, when it comes to the PMI side of things, the course I'm presenting is one that is relevant for now. It is relevant for now and in the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months. It's relevant for the next 5 years as we go through significant changes. And I think why this course is incredibly different is because I'm doing multiple podcasts. I'm doing multiple interviews with industry professionals, industry leaders and industry thought leaders, but industry specialists in the PMI space, but also in M&A, also in industry space. I also have a podcast where we focus just on the marketing side of things. As a fractional CMO is one of the roles that I do play, or as a marketing specialist integrator in M&A work. I have a separate podcast that's where I interview CMOs and sales and marketing professionals, and we focus entirely on that work stream and how to best get the growth and the expansion and maybe the cross-selling and upselling, etc. that integrations allow us to do, or that force us to do. And then there's another component which I do cover, and just to let you know this is a Q&A session, so you're welcome to ask questions. But in the afternoon at 2:30 on a Friday, from 2:30 to 3:30 every single week, I cover all the ERP, business management software, e-commerce, and anything to do with technology within a business. So it's the let's call it the engine room software that run businesses. I cover that in terms of how to select the right ERP, how to implement the correct ERP, even asking questions such as how best to utilize or potentially even re-implement the current ERP that you have at your disposal. When you're doing an integration, when you're doing an acquisition, you'll often find that entities will have the same software, will have different software, and you would need to integrate that, or you need to select one, or you need to select the other, and you'd need to do a transformation or a change management in one of the entities that have to take on the software. There are different principles and things that need to be followed. There's a process that needs to be followed. So I cover a lot of that between 2:30 and 3:30 on a Friday afternoon. And so I just want to give you the Friday agenda, if you like. So in the mornings on Fridays from 9 until 10, or until whatever time is available, from 9 until 10, we cover professional services, the process, how to be successful in a professional services firm, or as a practitioner, as an individual, or as a company. From 10 to 10:20, I touch on the 42 business principles or business growth principles that are very much marketing focused. every week, I cover one of those principles for about 15, 20 minutes. Today, we're going to be covering what I think is one of the key principles from 10 to 10:20. And then we take a bit of a break. And then between 11 and 12 on a Friday, I go into this training course. This training course is probably going to be at least 50 weeks, where I tackle the current most important training that you're going to get around post-merger integration or post-acquisition integration work, depending on where you are. You can, in terms of your career, we're welcome to join our share templates, tools, processes, diagrams, etc. We talk about the theory, we talk about the practice, we draw on bodies of work out there that people have published. We'll look at different points of view. There are multiple schools of thought around what makes a good integration, and I'll be posing those questions, and we'll be pinning one against the other. And in fact, there's new schools of thought and new business strategies that are coming out. So we'll be covering that between 11 and 12. We'll take a bit of a break, and then 2:30 until 3:30, we cover all the ERP and business management software, the software that runs an actual business. And then from 4 until 5, on a Friday afternoon, we're going to cover what I think is an absolutely brilliant topic. Obviously, I'd absolutely love sales, marketing, business growth, business development. And we cover what I call literally the sales pitch hour, how to build the correct sales pitch, how to get new customers, how to grow and develop your business. And whatever business you're in, I focus almost entirely all my work on professional services, consultants, and any service-based business. Even if you're repairing lifts and escalators, even if you are in a field service organization laying pipes or cables, any of those entities. I mean, it could be mechanics, body spray painters, but those are service businesses. You might be doing a technical job. I mean, even a dentist is a technical job, but it's still a service. And it's how do you deal with that? And between 4 and 5 on a Friday afternoon, I cover the sales pitch hours, how to make your business grow, how to grow and develop your business. So let's just quickly go through that. Office hours, 9 until 10. Office hours open. Anybody could join. You could ask questions, etc. But we focus on ways to grow your professional services business. 10 to 10:20, we cover the 42 business principles. And then once 42 business principles, because we do one a week, that's 42 weeks. We do one a week. And every week, we will, once we cover that, and as the weeks go by, I will then just cover those points. But every week, you can build your library of the key things you should be doing. The reason why I'm drip feeding it is so that you can take the idea, the principle, and apply it for that week. See what your results are. Start stacking. It's all about compound growth. It's incremental growth in terms of your career, if you're an employee, or if you run a firm, or if you're part of a firm, a partner, or if you're the CEO or chair of a large organization. It makes no difference. These principles are key to doing anything in terms of business growth. So that's 9 to 10 is office hours, 10 to 10:20 is 42 business principles. And then if we go and we look then at from 11 to 12, I do the formal training, PMI training. If you want free post-merger integration training, this is the place to be. As I said, I interview hundreds and have discussions with specialists and practitioners in the M&A and post-merger integration space. And I also have many theoretical models that I've studied, and I want to put all of that together for your benefit so that you can learn and see how to run a proper integration. 2:30 to 3:30, we look at ERP and business management software systems. And then from 4 until 5 is pitch. How do you sell? How do you sell? How do you market? How do you develop your professional services business? Okay, so just to get back to the topic of the day, we're talking about how do you systemize your professional services business. And we covered a critical element of separating the technical elements of what you do as a company or as a person, if you're pitching for work, or even when you are talking to a target acquisition, it's to keep the technical separate from the journey. And the journey then is to have a way of explaining the journey that your audience would take with you when they come along that journey with you. So the idea here is when you sell the invisible, you should be selling a process. You should be selling the steps. And the easiest way to do that is to create a framework. And the word that we use when we've created the framework, we call that productize. So to use really crazy words is often with product-based businesses, let's say I'm selling glue or chemicals or pharmaceuticals, we try and servicize a product. In other words, we take a product and turn it into a type of service. In other words, we add services to the product to increase margins and to increase deliverability and to increase engagement with clients and obviously resell, upsell, and so on, and education for clients. So we'll take products and we'll servicize it, if there's such a word. On the flip side is if you've got a service business and then you need to explain it and you're finding it very, very difficult to explain what you do and how you do it, you productize it. Just like we take products and we servicize it, we take services and we productize it. And the easiest way to productize a service is to create a business framework or a model, or let's call it based on a journey, but let's call it a framework or a model or a product. And then it starts becoming interesting, because then you can have an entry-level product and a middle-level product, for instance, and a premium product. And all of a sudden, you start having the ability to say, all right, if you buy this service from me, I'm going to provide this list of this part of the journey for you. It could be that you say the basic product is, I'll share some of the tools and techniques and your team do the work. In other words, it's a do-it-yourself environment. If you say my middle product is, I'll do it with you. In other words, you provide the team, the resources, etc., and I'll come and I'll join you and I'll do it with you. The top end or premium product, obviously it's going to be more expensive, is the I'll do it for you product. So it's exactly the same journey. There's no difference. The process or the journey the customer needs to take to get from where they are right now to where they want to be, going through that chasm, you building the ladder over the chasm, if you like. But if you want to take them from where they are to where they want to be, the goal for us is to say, okay, what's the way that you want to do it, Mr., Mrs., Ms. client? And the best way to do that is just select which one of these products you want. Would you like to do it yourself? In other words, it's cheaper, but there's a lot more work that you've got to do. I can give you all my frameworks and processes, but you do it yourself. Product, sort of middle product could be, you know what, I'll give you everything that you need, but I will be shoulder to shoulder with you and we will work through this process together. And then the premium product could be, you know what, you're very busy, you're focused on your business, you're very focused on what you're doing. I will take care of this portion. You do no longer need to worry about this. This is the premium service and I will do it for you. So all of a sudden, you now have the ability, because you're not talking technical, you are talking product, and you're saying, I've got product basic, middle, and premium, for instance. And now you can say, okay, what's included, what's excluded, and so on. And that becomes, again, a lot easier to explain. So that's the Q&A question and answer for today, and the sort of the theory behind growing a professional services entity. I'm going to leave it at that for today. If there are any questions, please, you're welcome to comment. This is live stream and recorded, and it will be posted as a podcast episode, as well as be visible on YouTube and across LinkedIn and other platforms. You're welcome to comment. I'll be watching the comments, and please, by all means, let me know what you think. throw in a few questions, ask me a few questions. Maybe there you want to discuss a topic in terms of growing your professional services firm, especially around M&A and all the integration work and so on. And if you want to join us in any one of the later sessions today, please do so. And I wish you all the best if I don't see you, and have a fantastic weekend. Hi everybody, this is Dudley again, and if you need help with a future or existing post-merger integration, I want to invite you to arrange a free, no obligation meeting with us. During the meeting, we'll find out exactly what you need, what your challenges are, and we'll explain how our unique PMI slipstream method can help you. Simply call us or visit mergerintegration.co.uk. That's mergerintegration.co.uk, or come to our website, skillfulpursuit.com.